Beneath the crushing silence of the ocean lies a battlefield unlike any other, where sonar replaces sight and one mistake means death. But how many submarine movies actually get it right? The tactics, the procedures, the nerve-shredding reality of underwater warfare. Today, we dive deep into the Atlantic and the Pacific to uncover 12 submarine war films that captured the strategy, the fear, and the truth. Number 12. The Enemy Below, 1957, A Forgotten Duel Beneath the Atlantic. The Enemy Below was not just another war film, it was a precise lesson in naval chess. Starring Robert Mitchum as an American destroyer captain and Kurt Jürgens as a German U-boat commander, the movie stunned audiences with its technical accuracy. No theatrical heroics, just procedure, discipline, and mutual respect between enemies. The story unfolds like a deadly dance of detection. Each side tries to outthink the other as sonar pings echo through the hull and sweat drips from men waiting for the next depth charge. Director Dick Powell demanded Realism Consulting actual Navy officers to reproduce authentic sonar tactics and pursuit maneuvers used in the North Atlantic during World War II. Critics in the 1950s were surprised by its even-handed tone. No propaganda, just two professionals locked in deadly balance. Some veterans even said the film captured the eerie waiting game better than any Hollywood hit before it. Filmed with a blend of claustrophobic tension and stark outdoor sea shots, it became a silent tribute to the men who fought without ever being seen. Its legacy endures through directors like Quentin Tarantino, who cited it as influence for character standoffs. The Enemy Below remains a cold, precise study of tactics and morality beneath endless water, proof that respect between enemies can exist even when survival means pulling the trigger first. Number 11. Das Boot, 1981, Germany's most intense cinematic export. Das Boot was not made to glorify war but to crush the romantic myths about it. Set inside a U-boat where claustrophobia reigns, it follows the crew of U-96 through relentless Atlantic patrols. Every rivet groans under pressure. Every sonar ping feels like a countdown to drowning. Director Wolfgang Petersen used real submarine designs and filmed inside narrow sets that moved, rocked, and leaked. The result was so authentic that many of the cast members fainted during filming from heat and lack of oxygen. Historians and naval experts praised the detail from torpedo reloading drills to crash dive protocols shown in exact timing. When the movie premiered, Western critics called it both horrifying and hypnotic. Audiences were unprepared for how deeply it humanized German sailors. It dared to show them not as villains, but as exhausted men trapped in a mechanical coffin. For a time, German politicians feared it would be seen as sympathy for the enemy. Despite controversy, Das Boot changed war cinema forever. It proved authenticity could be cinematic and despair could be beautiful. Today, it is used in naval training schools as a psychological case study in underwater warfare and crew endurance. It remains the ultimate portrayal of men battling both the ocean and themselves. Number 10. Run Silent, Run Deep, 1958. When Clark Gable and Burt Lancaster stepped aboard their fictional submarine, they brought Hollywood glamour to one of the most serious tactical films of the Cold War era. Run Silent, Run Deep depicted the Pacific Front with unnerving precision. Gable's Captain Richardson is obsessed with revenge after his sub was sunk by a Japanese destroyer. Lancaster's executive officer challenges his risky orders, and the crew stands divided. The movie's title itself comes from real U.S. Navy doctrine, meaning to dive deep and shut down all systems to hide from sonar. Director Robert Wise based sequences on official submarine manuals and first-hand veteran interviews. The torpedo attack choreography followed authentic timing, including target angle adjustments and firing sequences. Veterans praised its realism. Behind the scenes, tension between the two leads mirrored the conflict on screen. Gable's strict professionalism clashed with Lancaster's method approach, creating authentic friction that elevated every scene. Upon release, the film was both admired and feared by censors for revealing too much technical procedure. Navy advisors even asked the studio to alter some command codes used in dialogue. Run Silent, Run Deep became a reference point for naval realism for decades. It showed that the greatest danger beneath the waves is not always the enemy ship, but the obsession within a man who refuses to surface. Number 9. The Hunt for Red October, 1990. When The Hunt for Red October surfaced, it changed how audiences saw submarine warfare. Gone were the explosions and glory shots. What replaced them was chess at crush depth. Sean Connery played a Soviet captain defecting to the West, while Alec Baldwin's Jack Ryan tried to decode his intentions before a global war erupted. What made it stand apart was authenticity. Tom Clancy's source novel was based on real Cold War doctrines, like silent-running magnetic anomaly detection and sonar countermeasures. Director John McTiernan worked with former Navy officers who advised on every maneuver shown. Even the submarine interiors were built according to declassified blueprints. During production, the Pentagon refused cooperation, fearing it revealed too much about modern sub-technology. Some U.S. officers even questioned how Clancy acquired such detail, leading to rumors he had access to classified briefings. He didn't, but his obsessive research paid off. Critics hailed it as both a thriller and a near-documentary on Cold War paranoia. Its pacing mimicked real submarine command structure, where a wrong order could mean implosion. The film made sonar sequences more gripping than dogfights and cemented the silent duel as cinema art. Its legacy still echoes in naval culture. Modern submariners reportedly use it for training simulations because it nails chain-of-command tension and acoustic warfare realism. The hunt for Red October remains a hymn to patience, logic, and loyalty in the depths where light never reaches. Number 8. Crimson Tide, 1995. Few films captured the claustrophobic terror of nuclear decision-making like Crimson Tide. Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman faced off aboard a ballistic missile submarine in crisis. A single broken communication left one question: did the order to launch still stand? The Atlantic turned into a psychological battlefield. Director Tony Scott combined kinetic camera work with technical precision. Naval advisors recreated actual ballistic launch codes, procedures, and emergency isolation drills. The tension between Hackman's old-school command and Washington's rational caution reflected a real doctrinal divide inside the U.S. Navy during the Cold War. Controversy exploded when the Navy withdrew official support. Admirals objected to showing mutiny aboard a nuclear vessel. Scott shot anyway, building his sets from memory and private documentation. That defiance paid off. Critics called it a masterclass in command stress and ethical collapse under pressure. The visual design mirrored the confined chaos of submarine life. Sweat condensation and red alert lighting became symbols of moral temperature rising. Even the sonar sequences were designed around real sound frequency patterns. Crimson Tide became a touchstone for leadership studies in military academies. It showed the most dangerous weapon on board is not the nuclear arsenal, but the ego of men entrusted to command it. Its echo still vibrates in every submarine thriller that came after. Number 7. The Bedford Incident, 1965. The Bedford Incident might be the most underrated Cold War submarine thriller ever made. Sidney Poitier and Richard Widmark clashed aboard a U.S. destroyer stalking a Soviet sub through icy Atlantic waters. There are no torpedoes fired for most of the film, yet the tension burns like a live wire. What makes it remarkable is its procedural authenticity. Every sonar report, every command echo follows real naval protocol. The movie mirrors the psychological grind of continuous tracking operations during the Cuban Missile Crisis era. Director James B. Harris, a former Stanley Kubrick collaborator, built the film around obsession. Critics saw it as an allegory for American paranoia, but veterans recognized its tactical accuracy. The relentless stalking the sonar classification drills and the danger of human fatigue leading to fatal error. Those weren't inventions. They were everyday fears for Cold War crews. Behind the scenes, Harris insisted on military precision. He hired real sonar operators as consultants and recreated destroyer CIC layouts using Navy specifications. The haunting climax, where a single misheard command leads to Armageddon, was so chilling that it shocked audiences into silence. The Bedford Incident left no glory shots, no heroes, just a lesson. When fear drives command, judgment disappears. And in the deep blue, every echo could be the sound of your own mistake returning to destroy you. Number 6. The Silent Enemy, 1958. Before James Bond, there was Lieutenant Lionel Crabb. The Silent Enemy dramatized his real-life underwater missions against Italian frogmen in the Mediterranean during World War II. Unlike the torpedo-packed Hollywood fantasies, this British production focused on the deadly chess match of underwater sabotage. Mines, limpet charges, divers working in total darkness beneath Gibraltar's harbor. The film dared to show the primitive tactics of early combat diving. No digital instruments, no oxygen meters, just air hoses and gut instinct. Director William Fairchild filmed in real underwater locations with Royal Navy divers and even used decommissioned submarines as props. For its time, that level of realism was unheard of. Audiences in the late 50s were stunned by how brutal and technical the underwater sequences were. You could feel the crushing pressure and the blind panic of men fumbling with explosives 30 feet below the surface. Critics praised its courage to focus on ingenuity over spectacle, but controversy soon followed. Lieutenant Crabbe himself vanished mysteriously in 1956 during a real dive near a Soviet warship. Some believed the film revealed too much about his secret operations. British authorities were furious yet powerless to stop its release. Today, The Silent Enemy stands as one of the most historically accurate depictions of early submarine sabotage. It captures an era when courage was measured not in medals, but in how long you could hold your breath before planting death under enemy hulls. Number 5. K-19, The Widowmaker, 2002. When K-19, The Widowmaker hit theaters, it divided audiences. Some saw it as a patriotic tragedy. Others saw it as a grim exposé of Cold War sacrifice. Starring Harrison Ford and Liam Neeson, it told the true story of the first Soviet nuclear submarine disaster. During its 1961 patrol, K-19 suffered a reactor coolant leak deep under Arctic ice. The crew had to improvise repairs while radiation levels climbed beyond survivable limits. Director Catherine Bigelow insisted on technical precision. Russian consultants rebuilt exact reactor compartments and control panels based on declassified schematics. The production itself was grueling. Filmed inside a real decommissioned submarine in freezing Halifax waters, actors endured cramped quarters and real steam leaks. Bigelow's camera captured the claustrophobia with minimal lighting, creating a realism that unnerved even real submariners. Upon release, the Russian Navy condemned the film for dishonoring national heroes. Survivors, however, praised its truth. They said no Western movie had ever captured the suffocating isolation of life beneath the Arctic Circle. K-19 became infamous for its box office failure, but time has been kind. Historians now call it one of the most accurate portrayals of Soviet submarine operations ever filmed. Its legacy is painful, yet proud. A reminder that bravery often happens in silence, far below where medals cannot follow. Number 4. U-571, 2000. U-571 was both spectacle and scandal. The film dramatized the American mission to seize an Enigma code machine from a German U-boat. Technically gripping, emotionally charged, but politically explosive. Matthew McConaughey and Harvey Keitel played sailors who board the enemy vessel after their own sub is destroyed. What follows is a claustrophobic battle of wits and engineering as they try to evade the German fleet using tactics straight out of naval manuals. Depth charge evasion, ballast control, silent running, it is all shown with chilling accuracy. The controversy came when British historians pointed out that it was Royal Navy sailors, not Americans, who captured the first Enigma machine. Veterans called the film historical theft. Director Jonathan Mostow defended it as composite storytelling, yet the accuracy of its submarine operation sequences won grudging respect even from critics. Mostow employed former Navy officers to train his cast. The actors learned how to close bulkheads, track sonar contacts, and execute dive protocols in real time. The control room scenes were shot using working instruments inside a retired submarine. Despite outrage over its rewriting of history, the film's tactical authenticity remains outstanding. Every maneuver feels desperate and earned. In the end, U-571 reminds us that truth underwater is complicated. History may argue over who captured what, but courage under pressure speaks in a language no historian can edit. Number 3. The Cruel Sea, 1953. Long before CGI or Cold War tension, The Cruel Sea brought the Battle of the Atlantic to life with chilling simplicity. Based on Nicholas Monserrat's novel, it followed the men of the corvette Compass Rose, who hunted German U-boats in endless storm-swept waters. Unlike most war films of its day, it had no glamour, no triumph. Only fatigue, courage, and loss. The movie's realism came from truth. Director Charles Friend worked closely with the Royal Navy and used real corvettes and destroyers during filming. The depth charge attacks and sonar tracking scenes were reconstructed from actual combat logs. The film's authenticity shocked audiences because it showed what convoy escorts really endured: the waiting, the sleepless nights, the guilt of killing men they never saw. A central moment, when the captain orders depth charges dropped on friendly survivors, became infamous for its moral complexity. The Admiralty feared it would tarnish the Navy's reputation, but the producers refused to cut it. That defiance turned the cruel sea into a landmark of emotional honesty. Critics hailed it as the most accurate naval drama ever made. Veterans wept during screenings. It wasn't about heroes, it was about endurance. Today, the cruel sea stands as a quiet monument to realism. It reminds us that the sea itself was the ultimate enemy, and mercy had no place in sonar range. Number 2. Greyhound, 2020. Tom Hanks's Greyhound might be the most precise modern depiction of mid-Atlantic convoy warfare ever committed to screen. Written by Hanks himself and adapted from C.S. Forrester's novel The Good Shepherd, it compresses 48 hours of command terror into 90 minutes of real-time tension. Hanks plays Captain Krause, an inexperienced destroyer commander, guiding a convoy through the deadly gap where no air cover existed. Every command he issues is taken from real naval language. Every sonar contact and every torpedo attack follows documented U-boat tactics. The production consulted naval historians and used digital recreations of period-accurate instruments, from engine telegraphs to ASDIC sonar screens. Even the North Atlantic storm patterns were modeled from 1942 weather data. Greyhound's minimalism became its strength. There are no character subplots, no flashbacks, just precision leadership under pressure. Critics compared its pacing to a real combat report. Naval veterans applauded its authenticity, calling it the most technically accurate depiction of destroyer escort warfare in decades. It wasn't a blockbuster, but it was a revelation. In an era of CGI noise, Greyhound proved realism still matters. It reminded viewers that war at sea is about rhythm and reaction, not spectacle. Each ping of sonar is a prayer, and each silence a death sentence waiting to be heard. Number 1. The Abyss, 1989. James Cameron's The Abyss might not be a traditional submarine war movie, but it is one of the most accurate films ever made about underwater operations and psychological endurance. It fuses Cold War paranoia with the claustrophobic realism of deep-sea engineering. The story follows a civilian diving team sent to recover a lost nuclear submarine. What they find is something far stranger. But beneath the science fiction lies a film obsessed with authenticity. Cameron shot much of it inside a giant flooded nuclear power plant, using practical submersibles and real communication systems. The actors trained in actual underwater breathing apparatus and spent hours submerged each day. Every procedure, from pressure equalization to decompression sequences, came straight from Navy manuals. Crew members later called it the hardest shoot in history. Ed Harris nearly drowned. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio collapsed from exhaustion. When it premiered, many expected fantasy. What they got was near-documentary precision mixed with emotional gravity. The underwater cinematography captured light refraction and movement exactly as seen in real dives. Submariners praised its depiction of teamwork, stress, and mental breakdown under confinement. The Abyss transcended its genre. It reminded audiences that the ocean is not just a battlefield, but a consciousness that watches us back. Between human frailty and alien depth, it found truth in pressure, the kind that crushes steel and the kind that tests souls. Beneath the waves, cinema has found its purest metaphors for fear, courage, and survival. From the Atlantic's cold hunt to the Pacific's silent duels, these films capture tactics born from terror and brilliance. So which side would you dive for? The hunters or the haunted? Like, subscribe, and tell us which depths you would dare to face.